Hey, what is up all you do-it-yourselfers? My name is Dylan Taylor and this is Dylan's DIY Workshop. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a tiny little wire bonsai tree. It also works on like bigger trees, and that's the one that I'm actually going to show you how to make in this video. Technique is the same whether you're making a tree the size of a golf ball or a tree the size of a basketball. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you learned something new, please comment down below what it was, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask them as soon as you have them, and maybe someone else will have the same question and we can have it answered. I will try to answer all the comments, and if I don't get the chance to, someone else may also know the answer to the question, so go ahead and ask anything that you may not know. We're all here to learn, so it's all good. If you don't know something, ask it.
Okay, so we're gonna start off here with some extension cord, and you can find this kind of cord anywhere. Basically, you just want it to have 3 different strands of wire in it. I'm just cutting this into 3 equal pieces, and I'm just using wire cutters to do that. So with a box cutter and holding it just like this, where you're just barely letting the blade protrude from your fingers and it's very controlled in your hand, you want to slide your fingers down both sides of the wires so that you slice right into the middle of the wire, and this takes some time to learn how to do it quite right. Then we're going to strip the wire by pulling out all of the insides right down that slice that we've already made. You don't want to cut too deep because you don't want to cut into the wires and cut some of the wires. I'm just going to do that to the other 2 pieces, and we're going to end up with some of these thinner wires, and we're going to do the exact same thing, it's just a little bit more difficult. And then take out the copper wire from inside of those sleeves. Make sure that you get them all out, because otherwise when you pull it out it ends up fraying and becoming a mess. So just get them all out of the end there first, and then you can grab a hold of them and just go to town. Okay, you want to make sure that there's a bunch of strands. So if you have a cord that doesn't have a bunch of strands like this, it is no good. So we're going to start off with that. Going to get the rest of them all cut out there so that we've got a bunch of the strands all together. And right here, this is optional, and I kind of wish I hadn't done this, but I'm taking the 3 wires, because I had 9, I'm taking 3, braiding them together, and then once I have 3 wires, now that they're all braided together, I braided those together just by twisting. It ended up being really stiff and it didn't quite look right, and I ended up needing to use my vise to actually tighten them. And when I got to the vise, I realized that the tree was going to be too tall and too skinny, so I cut the wires in half again, thus giving me 6 pieces, and that's what I twisted together right here. You'll see me start to make the roots coming up in the next few scenes, and that is done by twisting the same direction to the right with the bottom of the tree. And if you really want to know how I did that, I do a better job of explaining this in the other video. I will leave a card up in the top right. You can check that out and see how I did the roots in much better detail.
So this is what it looks like before we've got buttons on it. These are the branches. We're going to use like 4 or 5 strands of wire per button, maybe even more if we can fit them inside the buttons. And we're probably going to put about this many buttons on this tree. Just because this one's a little bit too short, we need it to be bigger. There might be a few more buttons. The way I've decided it looks best is like this one right here, where it's just held on at a flat angle, like parallel, I guess, to the actual arm, rather than like this where it goes through the button and then the button is flimsy. So what we need to do is make sure that there is a ton of extra wire per branch, and so we're basically going to split each branch off of the base of where this this branch has a crotch joint with the other branch. We're going to hold on to the base down here and untwist so that they're flat again, and that's where we're going to pull out 5 wires or 6 wires or however many wires you want that'll fit through your button. You want to pick the button size according to the size of the wire and also the size of the tree. Like if you wanted to use tiny ones like this, go ahead. But a button this large on a tree this small just wouldn't look right. It wouldn't happen. And even on this tree, the button may be too big. Okay, so honestly, I've made a bunch of these wire trees, and you'd think, oh, well, Dylan, you should know whether it's easier to put the leaves on after the tree's on a rock or whether put the leaves on before it's on a rock. I don't remember. So I'm just gonna put it on a rock now so that it's got a heavy base, trying to put all the buttons on it. I'm gonna look for a fairly large rock, considering this is a much larger tree than, I'll say, this one or any of the other ones that I've made. I've got these rocks from a trip that I went on and made YouTube videos about. I think one of these would be best. They're from Lake Superior. I'm going with purple buttons, so I should... What, a purple rock? Maybe a purple rock for this one. Well, we can leave that one for the purple rock. Maybe a pink rock. How would that look with purple buttons? I like the look of that. This camera's not picking it up right, the color of this rock, but it's quite pink. It kind of rocks back and forth. You need a rock that sits nice and flat, at least in one spot, because you don't really want it rolling around and crushing the tree. Say the tree was mounted on the top, if it rolled over, it would crush the tree. So we don't want that one. Bingo! Okay, so I've shown this in my other videos on how to make a wire tree, and I don't think I really need to do that much explaining in this video. If you want to know like more details about how to do this and make it stick really nicely, you can watch the other videos. I'll put a card up in the top right corner of the screen right now, and you can check those videos out. But you just want to put some contact cement on both the bottom of the tree and the rock right where you want the tree to be placed. And let both of them dry before you put them together. You got one chance to do it right. You definitely want to make sure that the trees are clean and the rocks are clean. Well, more so the rocks, because rocks are more likely to have dirt on them than the wire. This tree is done. It's on the rock, and I even signed it, so that will be for sale on my Etsy page. Now we need to do this, and like I was saying, I figured out which way I'd like to do the buttons based on the other tree. So what we need to do now is find a bunch of small buttons, and I guess the best way to do that is to kind of pour some out. I'm trying to think, the smaller buttons would probably be better, nothing smaller than this. I want buttons that have 4 holes, so I'm not going to pick any that have 2. And the closer the button holes are to the edge, the nicer I think it'll look. I'm not going to go for just one type of purple because I think this looks really nice with the different shades of purple. It doesn't look like cookie cutter. It looks like it's got texture to it, I guess, by having those different colors. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out all these buttons. Start out with these ones right here and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to take these fishing pliers. They're really tiny pliers that don't have any teeth on them, so they don't mar up your wire, but they allow you some pretty fine work. So I'm going to bend all these other branches out of the way. Funny thing, or the fancy thing about working with wire, is that you can move it back later. So we're just getting all of those out of the way, and we're going to grab 5 or 6 of these wires, and we're going to twist them together by hand, or if you can't do that, you can do it with pliers. Twist that all together right up to the end because we want it to be able to feed through the button. And then we take our button. So we take this branch and our button, we put the button through, and we're just going to drop it down. Then right about here, so I would say that's 3/4 of an inch down, we're going to bend the wire straight down, just right around the end of these pliers so that it gives us a little loop like that. Then pull the button back up, and you'll figure out how much you need to actually do that, how far down it needs to go depending on the distance between the hole and the edge of your button. So that distance right there, if it's a lot wider, if you're say using a button like this, you're going to need to bend down a lot more of the copper so that you can come down around the button and bend down right here. See, so that we can hold on to the 2 wires that are now touching right here. We can hold on to them and twist the button. Now keep twisting the same direction that the tree branches and the rest of the tree is twisted. You want to keep that the same all the way through the tree. So what that does, it bonds itself back to the branch, and now that button is completely on there. It's tight, and we didn't have to mess around with the pliers other than make ourselves a loop. So that is how you put the buttons on. And it's the same thing over and over and over again until you're done. So grab 5 or 6 more of these. It's nicer if they're like side by side so that the branches look like they actually come out of the tree. So you do that. Make sure that it'll fit through the buttonholes though. That's the important thing. And you see what I did here? I grabbed this other big branch and I just gave it one twist so that when I give the next branch off of there, it won't come off of the exact same spot, so that the branches are offset when you actually put the tree together, so that it's like a tree. Not all the branches come out of one specific spot. They come out through different spots of the tree. So that's why every now and then just grab the remainder and give it one little twist right down at the bottom, not at the top, just at the bottom, and then that's where you can take your other branches off. Other than that, it's just a matter of repeating that step over and over and over again until you're done. So I will do that, give you guys a quick time lapse, and then show you the finished product. This is taking a heck of a lot longer than I expected it to. There's actually a lot more buttons on this tree than the other tree. There's almost, well, actually turning out to be the same. There'll be 3 times as many buttons on this tree. There's already about the same number on the tree. So I'm not actually going to get this one finished. I'm going to use this one for the thumbnail, but I got the point across, and that's all I was trying to show you guys, how to attach the buttons, and that would be this way is my favorite. And another way that you can do it is by going through the button like that, where you just come up through, and when you hook it over, just go back through. And so whichever you honestly think looks better. To me, I think this looks more polished, but at the same time, the buttons don't stay on as tight as they do over here. So although I'm not actually finishing this in this video, or well, this one right here, it will be on my Etsy page along with this tree. This one will be up by the time the video comes out, so you guys can check those out if you are interested in them. So these are one of a kind and handmade, and if you want to help support the channel and Patreon doesn't seem like it's a thing for you, and you want to actually hold something in your hand, then this is probably the best way to go. Or other things on my Etsy page, you can check those out throughout the same link that you go to the tree with. That being said, if you do want to help support my channel and you want to use Patreon, Patreon is an amazing way to help support my channel and the things that I create, and I will leave a card up in the top corner of the screen. A huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters already. You guys are absolutely incredible, and a special thank you to Randy, Robinbird, and Mike Maxwell, my top tier Patreon supporters. The highest level Patreon support, you get a shout out in every single video. So if that's something that you are interested in, go check out my Patreon page. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are new, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please share this video with a friend. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, give it a big old thumbs up. We'll see you guys all next time. Peace out.